Hey y'all, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Jeannie. Thank you so much for stopping by today. So today I'm here to share a flip through of this custom ordered journal. I just finished this up this morning. I don't know, by the time you're watching this, it may be a day or so or a week later. I don't know. I'll try to get this up today at some point. But yeah, so I just wanted to share this with y'all. This is another one of my eclectic cottage journals that I've been making since the first of the year. I did follow a tutorial from Johanna, and it was a tutorial that she had free on YouTube, and it was the squishy soft felt covers and then the collaged, the spine with the embroidered fabrics and all the trims and fun things. Usually I have it a lot more patchworky, but this is just how this one ended up coming together the best. I wanted this to be just the main focal point instead of having several different embroidered linens. And then I decided to put the other pieces on the spine. And she wanted this daisy on here, so I just layered it over all of the collage or patchwork on the back. And this is, so you know how when you follow a tutorial or something, your journals kind of take on their own lives. I guess that's what you say. Wait, what? Did that even make sense, y'all? Anyways, you know how you kind of turn things into yours. So I would say my cottage journals, or this style of journal, it's kind of a mishmash between the Johanna style and then the Amity Bloom Everyday Journal. I feel like it's kind of like the perfect mix of those because they're usually super eclectic. Now, if I get a custom order and you're like, I just want pinks and blues and I just want birds and brown ink, I mean, like, I'm happy to do it. However, that's the point of a custom order. But in this case, as in most of the time, she gave me total freedom to do what I wanted. I will say this one was a little challenging for me at first. Now, she was super, super sweet. She was never difficult. It was my brain that was so difficult. But she said she wanted this style of journal. And then she told me the things she likes and enjoys. And she said that I asked her top 2 favorite colors, and she said that, a Caribbean sunset come to mind. And of course, that's a palette of colors, when we looked at the image for that. So we were laughing, chatting back and forth, because I'm the same way. I'm so indecisive. But anyways, it pulled up like 10 colors. So we narrowed it down to just kind of have the colors of a pretty sunset. If you follow me on Instagram, I was having a hard time coming up with those colors of trims and things, so I decided to dye them myself, as well as a lot of the papers. And she sent me a couple of photos she had taken of a sunset in Mexico, and I went off of that, and I was able to dye some fabrics and papers, and I just feel like it just turned out beautiful. And I don't know why I'm so hard on myself to begin with, because every time I say that, not every time, every few journals something will stump me, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like how am I gonna make this happen? But somehow, it always turns out. I think the last time that I was this, I guess you could say, intimidated in taking on an order was, and again, it's not her, she's not intimidating at all, it was myself. But it was back in the fall, and I had a custom order for some red themed prayer journals, and they wanted lots of reds and lace and bling, but they couldn't be Christmassy or Valentine's Day. They were supposed to be like year round. So for some reason, now that I'm saying that out loud, I'm like, why was that so hard? Maybe it's because it was getting close to Christmas, but yeah, that one was a tough one for me. But anyways, I'm saying that to say those ended up being my favorite set of journals I had done in a long time. So same with this one. I love it. But I just wanted to show y'all before I ship it off tomorrow. So she wanted the patchwork style. And again, in these colors, like the deep oranges. And she loves the daisies. And I just felt like this piece of fabric here had all of those colors. with exception, obviously, of adding in greens. So, yeah. And then I did not do a closure for this. I will send something large enough that she can use as a closure. But when I do these chunky big journals, I don't usually put a closure on them. And so, let's see, I did some patchwork, put this piece on for the focal point. I used one of these frames, and I could not find my like acetate or transparency film. So I had to do glossy accents on this, which it worked beautifully, but this flower was supposed to be super bright, and I guess the color of the vintage book page meshed with that glossy accents kind of turned it, you know, more of a light bluish flower. Anyway, she said that was perfect. I asked her before I glued it on, but she liked that, how that turned out. So we're going to go ahead and get on the inside of this. So I did do the hidden binding, and I left the back. I'm saying this in case she's watching. I didn't glue this down right here because I kind of like the rawness of just the raw edges of the fabric. And then obviously she can just glue it down if she doesn't like that. But I feel like she's super artsy, and I mean, she may say she's not, but she seems to be a very artistic person. Like, she makes cakes. She makes the most beautiful junk journals. And I finally got her to start an Instagram page. So I will link her Instagram below, her junk journal one, and y'all go follow her. But anyway, she's just seems to be, you know, super eclectic and fun. And I feel like she will know what to do with this journal. So I left it. I put a lot of fun things in, and I'm including a lot of fun things, but at the same time, I left places for her to play in there. So I just left the insides blank, and I'll send a library pocket and card with it. But then I use this fun mushroom floral fabric on the inside of the back. I use a lot of Granny Chic book pages. So starting off on this first signature, there are 6 signatures in here. This is a pocket. This is an Ideals book page of a daddy and his little girl on the beach. Here is how the blue and purple dyed paper turned out. I made this giant patchwork journaling card to go down inside of here. Again, super eclectic, y'all. She wanted some vintage magazine images, so I did use images from, it's a large like ladies home journal. That's the one I used the most of. It's from 1945, I believe, and then there's one from 1949, and then I used a couple from the late 70s. But I thought this was just a fun, I don't know, I didn't notice the sigla in there in the coconut shell. I didn't notice that until the end. Obviously, you can put a sticker over that or something if you don't like that. But it's just, I just noticed how he's pouring her a cup of coffee, and this color, just this color of the sofa. I don't know, I thought that was just a fun image to me. And I just stapled a little butterfly on the edge. And this is what I made for this pocket, but it was way too big, so I had to just clip it on here. I did leave all of the strings because, again, I just feel like she'll like that. Some vintage ledger here, and just did a ruffle. This was like a bright orange computer paper, and I dyed it in the purple, I think. But either way, it turned out this. No, I dyed it in the deep burnt orange, or the orange and yellow mix, so it would be this color. But this is the color it turned out, because I wanted to kind of mute that bright orange. So I just made a belly band here, stapled this little bird, put a little tab here, and then just put this fun little card. I just glued down this image from this ad. It was a vintage ad on butter, or this soft to silk cake mix, and it has this recipe. She likes vintage recipes, so I kind of, you know, I just take information and kind of mesh it all together. So like she is a baker and then she loves vintage recipes. So how could she not love a vintage cake recipe? Put some music from the 1970s and the good old summertime. This was a really big flower, a gardening book that was like, it was like a really odd size. So I loved how when it folded up, this is the size it was. I didn't have to really cut it down. And then it was also super long, so I just folded these up and made a pocket. And I dyed some of this daisy trim that I had found at an estate sale a few weeks ago. I dyed some different colors and put it throughout. So I put a little Tim Holtz card there. I altered a Rolodex card, put a little M. Brad there. That's her initial. And then just had fun using all the scraps to make just little things to add in here. Again, vintage ledger. She said she loves roosters or chickens. So I just made a journaling card out of that. She also loves the Rand McNally book pages, you know, the kitschy fun ones that we all love, which I don't have a whole lot of those, y'all. I thought I did, but I only have 3 or 4 of those little books, and then I had one large one, so I tried to pull some images. I made this fun tape, so I followed a tutorial from Pink Paper Peppermints, and early 4th of July morning before we took off to do our days or weekends worth of family time, I sat and made some of this, but it's just, what does she call it? Confetti tape. So she's someone I used to love to watch years ago, and I've just been kind of refreshing myself on some of her things lately. So I just stapled that on there. Here's the other side of that Ideals book page. Here's a fun tag. I thought this little trim of the little horses and chickens were cute. Ideals book page. Here's how the purple paper turned out. This was a silk scarf that I had. I stamped a dandelion on this beautifully dyed guest check, and then I just cut the image out of this in the recipe for this banana shortcut cream pie. This is from a vintage cookbook, and I chose the page that was the basics of cake making. Here's some dyed music paper. I didn't realize, y'all, I thought this when I was sewing in the signature, but I glanced back and couldn't find. I thought, well, maybe I'm crazy, but I did put 2 music sheets in this first signature. I didn't mean to do that. Just kidding. No, I didn't. There was one in there and one in the, okay, that makes me feel better. I thought I had put 2 in one signature. This is some dotted Swiss fabric that I love to use very sparingly. This, I've used some pages. Let me show y'all this book. This is probably hands down one of my favorite books that I've recently found. And I've found a lot of similar ones, but I love this book. Like the images in here, they are fantastic. And the texture of the paper. But oh my goodness, I just loved this. It has such a mix of things. It's not just embroidery trims. It's not just, you know, because it's different. It's a, see, it's the whole mix of all the things. So I love this book. That will be a fabulous glue book at some point. But anyways, this page comes from that. Let's see. So here I just cut a little rooster out of some fabric, and I'm sending her some more of this fabric to do what she would like with. But I just made a little pocket, or she can turn it into a pocket out of a book page, put a little butterfly on his tail. And then I love this page. This was from a Vintage Work Basket magazine, but I just thought these little images were so cute. That little girl under the umbrella, and she can cut those out or do whatever, but I just thought, I just love the coloring of that paper. The center of this signature is from one of those late 1940s magazines. And that's just so funny to me. Like, she's so pretty, and then she's holding the pie, you know, and just, please, you're speaking of the pie I love. You know, so, I don't know. I just feel like she'll think that's funny. There's another pocket here. I did not back a lot of these images that I cut out because, again, she's super creative, so I thought she could back it if she wanted to, or she may just want to glue it right here or right here. But I love this image of this lady in this snazzy little swimsuit, which is totally back in style now, you know. And then I just put a little, just hello there, die cut. Made a little paper taco here. It says, oh yes please. I just thought she would really like this charm with this little blue flower in there. I found those at Hobby Lobby. They were on clearance last week. And I found one with a pack of 2, and I just thought that was perfect for this journal. And I hinged some of these papers together to make them larger. This is a little flip out. This was one of those Maggie Holmes pages with the giant words that you're like, what do I do with this? So I just kind of folded it accordion style, and it just lays down. She can clip it if that bothers her. Vintage kids book page. Another vintage kids book page from the 80s. I thought that was so cute. Just made a little cluster with tickets. This card I had used to, honestly, I used it to watercolor something. It was the back, like the base that I used to not get it on my desk, and it turned out this color. And I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna stitch on this fun little magazine image and a little saying there and a piece of this dyed lace, and I just thought that's a perfect little, that's an artsy fartsy journaling card, isn't it? There's some fun daisy paper. Let's eat cake and celebrate, because you know they probably eat some cake. This was a vintage like a armband from something, and I just stitched some seam binding on there. Another children's book page. That's the center of that signature. Some blue dyed daisies, and then I just put this watercolored postcard in there. Just glued down this image of this lady. This was advertising, I think I put the brand right here, but it was a brand of clothing, I guess, and it's called Ship and Shore. I guess you wear that from the ship to the shore, and you're comfortable all day long in that skirt and that super tight waist and all that jewelry, you know. So I just made a little tag. I used a lot of scraps up too this time, and that was just fun for me. Here's a fun little heart that my friend Lynette had sent me in some Happy Mail. It kind of feels like it might be a vintage food sack, but I just stitched it around a piece of cardstock to strengthen it up. Little tuck spot here, and just put some fun things inside this envelope. I love this image so much, like the little firework looking lights and their boats docked right here, little boy and girl. I just think that's so cute and so summery. And this is some dyed onion skin paper. Another vintage book page. I just made a paper ruffle here and put this doily over the top. I thought that was such a fun little book page. And then on the back of this was some of that artisan paper that you could get at Joann's several years ago. It feels like a handmade type paper or wallpaper. It's really neat. But anyways, the back of it's brown, so I kind of wanted to cover that up. But this is one of the images I had cut out, and I just thought that was so summery and fun with the shrimp and the salad and the little feather and the cake. I just thought she could glue it on and cut it off. Or see, that would actually be cute, just wrapped around like that, actually. But again, I just wanted to leave it in case she didn't love that. I altered a guest check with another one of these images. Oh, so these ladies, they're advertising toilet paper, colored toilet paper. But, I mean, come on. That's the cutest little ad ever, right? So I had to include that. There's some more dyed paper and dyed trim. Another little altered book page with a rooster with his pie. This was just from a flower book I have. And again, just love the colors. I cut this out of a little watercolor book, and I thought she could put it wherever she wants, but I loved how the back said that, so I just went ahead and left it instead of gluing it down. Just clipped this little die cut in here. Put some fun vintage ads in here. And when you buy a journal this big for me, like I usually give you one of my vintage magazines, like either a work basket or embroidery, something from between the 30s and the 70s. So while I put a couple pages in here, she'll also get a little book. But I just thought this was so fun. This was the other side of that page I showed y'all earlier with the little girl. But I think this would be so fun to just glue down or rip up and layer. It's kind of like your own printable printed on vintage paper. Our little doily printable. Polka dotted vellum. Loved this page. These orange pies or cake. Or I made a little pocket here and just kind of ripped open the... That was actually a happy accident. I was trying to make another pocket back here, which actually, that can be a little tiny pocket. But then I ended up stitching it down and making a pocket back here. But I put one of these fun vintage envelopes in here. Again, don't know why I'm saying the word fun to describe that, but it's so much fun, right? Here's a black bean dyed large glassine bag. My friend Arlene had dyed for me and sent me. Thought this was the perfect journal to use it in. And then here's one of the large Rand McNally book pages that I had. This was from the 1930s. I just thought this turtle was so cute. And then I thought this ad was so much fun. With her birthday cake and all the little girls. I don't know, I just thought she would like that. Put a little butterfly charm here, some dyed lace, and then some of this fun, there I go again. Daisy trim. I just layered up a couple of pockets here. Stitched fabric on this tag. I stitched this envelope that I had dyed on here to flip out like that, and then just made a little tuck spot there, and then put some vintage playing cards. I thought those were fun. I thought those matched the color scheme really well, so Had to use those. Here's another piece of that super cool paper. The bird. I made a pocket out of this paint chip, and it says Nautical Aqua Glow, an inspiring hue. And I put vellum behind it and put some little seashell sequins and little blue sequins. And then just turned it into a pocket. Made this little tag and then another playing card. I love how this pocket turned out. Again, how could this, I mean, I just feel like this is the most summertime for this color themed journal page ever. Like these blue matches in this little bitty holder and this gumbo or whatever it is cooking. I mean, we cook gumbo, but we're not ever fancy enough to throw some lobster tail in there, but that's a good idea. But that's what that looks like. But anyway, some shrimp bowl of some kind. And then there's the oysters back there with the shrimp. I don't know, I just thought that's super summery, right? And if she doesn't like seafood, she can just cover it up. Here's another really old ad. Again, how could you not love this if you bake cakes? Her cakes are beautiful too, by the way. She has an Instagram page for that too. But I thought she could glue that down on a page. I made a little double tag side tuck here, but I accidentally glued this one down. So there's one here, and then there's one here in this little altered bag. Or coin, what? Altered coin envelope. Some lace trim. This was out of a 1940s or 50s embroidery book that I have. That's super fragile. I'm scared that's going to tear where I put that glue. See, here's the brighter orange paper. It was still way brighter than this, but this dimmed a little. See that glitter? That's so pretty, that shiny effect. But then this other one just turned more of a like a deeper. I guess I wish I could remember what color I dipped it in. I feel like this one's almost more of like a burgundy. Couldn't think of the word, y'all. Anyways, it still all gives that sunset effect. Here's another little book page card. And some kid had written in this book, but I thought that was fine. Like, she can cover that up, but she may like what that says. This was from another Rand McNally children's book. This was from that book that I just showed y'all, and I just stitched this down here. Put this image of a lady holding a cookbook, and then just altered a little tag here. Put a vintage orange drink tab there. Made a little cluster here and put this fun little sunglass Brad there. I thought that was cute. Pocket here. I love how flat this lays. Now, it will lay much flatter if she'll take a lot of this stuff out, but it's still flat enough. You can actually hold a lot of things in these. Look at these pineapple boats. Oh, I bet that's amazing. So I used this vintage pillowcase here and just made a little hidden journaling spot over this vintage ledger that I'd stitched on to extend this page. And then put another little sticker there. This just blends beautifully with this Granny Chic book page and this. And I love how right here it says crafty, let's see, crafty ways bring sunny days. I love little bitty touches of things like that because it's a summer journal, you know. And then here's a paper ruffle and some little daisy trim. This little puppy. And then I got this, I think this was out of a floral book too. And it said the first week of August. And I just loved how the sun was setting in that picture. And I just stitched down some little Maggie Holmes hot air balloon paper and just made this into a tuck spot and made this little flippy scrappy tag to go right there. So she can glue this down and actually make it a pocket, or cut that off, or cover that up, you know, whatever. So I glued down this 1980s cake page right here with the orange and yellow and the daisies, and this says, "To a cute chick, happy birthday." I just glued this page down here. This was a vintage ordering form from one of those cake decorating magazines from Wilton. This is out of that book I showed y'all. I made a little scrappy snippet cluster here, stitched it down, and then glued it, or stitched it all together and then glued it down. I love using up scraps like that. See, that was like the rest of some of the papers. I just backed it with some fabric and trims. Have a little tag here. Another little scrappy tag there. And then I made some of these little photo, I shared these on Instagram. These are so fun. I also did that tape, the confetti tape, but I put some pressed flowers in there. You see the glitter. I had followed a tutorial from Katie Lyman, I think is her name, to do this. A little quilt scrap with a little blue daisy. I know that will mean something to her. Little order form from that other side of that cake book. Some more seafood recipes. A lobster. And then the back of this Granny Chic book page. So yeah, that's taken me a couple of weeks. I mean, I know if you follow me on Instagram, you'll say, "Girl, you work so fast. Girl, you're on fire." I hear that all the time, but I feel like it takes me forever. But I mean, maybe I do get a lot more done than I think, you know, but I feel like I've been in this one for at least a week and a half now. But overall, it's really taken me about 3 weeks here and there. I just dove into it for a solid week to finish it up. But again, let me know what you think. If you're ever interested in placing a custom order with me, I will link my email below, my Instagram below. And I hope y'all enjoyed this flip through, and y'all have a wonderful day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.